Thank you for joining me. I wanted to make this video as a follow-up to my previous video about my little painting that had some, well, thoughts of its own. I'm happy to report that there has been no further activity with that painting, and all's quiet on the Western Front. It's New Year's Day, and since my last video, the painting has been resting on the windowsill, very uneventfully. But it's nice to see it there. It's getting plenty of sunlight, and it's really doing its job, making the room look much more appealing than it would otherwise. Someone contacted me on Facebook and offered their opinion that the activities that had been occurring with the little painting were an attempt by someone on the other side to get a message through to me. And I tend to agree with that. I have a number of recently departed friends on the other side, and in May of 2020, during the pandemic, I lost my mother. My mom was my best friend. I can't remember a time in my life when she wasn't completely supportive of anything I wanted to do. Except when I decided to play football when I was in junior high school. She didn't support that. She was afraid that I would get hurt, which I did. Besides that, she's been right there with me in lockstep all the way. My life in the arts really began when I was about 8 years old. I started drawing, copying characters out of a set of Walt Disney encyclopedias that we had. From there, I started taking sculpting classes at a local museum in my hometown where I grew up. When I got into elementary school, 6th grade, I joined the choir. And I continued every year until really my first year in college. Along the way, I added drama classes. I competed in speech tournaments and did plays at the local university and in my hometown's community theater. I went to college on a choral scholarship. I studied radio, television, film, and worked as a college radio news anchor and television news anchor, and also a radio DJ. I went on to Arts Conservatory to study acting, and then on to New York to begin my career in theater and television, ultimately films. My mom was there, right behind me, every step of the way, supporting me, cheering me on, encouraging me, guiding me. It was just a natural part of it that when I began traveling and doing shows on the road and, working on television shows, I would fly her out to spend time with me, and we had, really a lot of fun. She would come to see my shows, and then after the opening night performance, we would go to a restaurant that was nearby, or maybe a bar that had that served food or whatever, and we would sit and drink. I mean, she didn't really, well, actually, she did like having Bailey's Irish cream in her coffee, but that was the extent of her alcohol consumption. But we would eat and talk and laugh and wait for the newspaper to come out so we could, see the review. It was a friendship that I feel lost without. My whole life, whenever I had doubts or whenever I had fears or uncertainties, I would share them with my mother, and she would encourage me and help me to determine the right direction to go in. So when I started my art business, it was the first time in my life that I made a major decision like that without her guidance. She enjoyed my artwork. She was the first person that actually really demanded that I take it seriously. It's a long time ago. I'd been drawing my whole life. I used to draw on the margins of my test papers in school, and I would draw when I was just, in rehearsal, or, just doodling, drawing things, sometimes painting things, but I never kept those things. I would give them to friends or just throw them away after. When my mom found out that I was doing that, she took what I had at that time and hung them on the wall of my apartment, which kind of freaked me out because I was like, this is crap. This doesn't deserve to be hung where people can see it like that. Who do I think I am? She reminded me who I was. She encouraged me right up until her last days. Shortly before her death, I had begun working on a very large-scale portrait of my mom, and I posted the beginnings of that process on Instagram. And I think maybe my brother, one of my brothers or my sister showed it to her, and she was very impressed and pleased to see it. She left a comment on that Instagram post. My mom was 80, maybe 85, 86 or so at this time, and so, although she got it, she understood what Instagram was, but it wasn't really something that, was very easy for her. Nonetheless, she left me a comment on that post. Her comment said, "Keep doing what you're doing for your future." She passed away not long after that. My business entity had been set up years ago for the purposes of engaging in film production. But when I decided to commit full-time to my artwork as a business after my mom passed, I repurposed it. It's been almost 2 years. Actually, it's been 2 years. And the newness and the excitement and the thrill has progressed into something more practical, although no less enjoyable. But the realities and the difficulties and the challenges of sustaining an art business are formidable. And there are days when I feel as though I've made the biggest mistake of my life. And I don't have my best friend to seek counsel on which way to go some days. So I've chosen to accept and believe that the things that have been happening with that little painting are indeed an attempt by my mother to communicate with me from the other side. To send me a message to keep doing what you're doing. She would have really been thrilled and excited to see my studio and some of the work that I've been doing. Anyway, I wanted to make this video to let you know that I'm closing the book, if you will, on the mystery. I'm choosing to accept that I've figured it out, that my mom has been trying to contact me, and that the message I'm to get is to keep doing what you're doing. I would really be interested to know what you think about that. Do you think that I'm imposing a meaning on it? Or is that how one actually comes to receive the message? By claiming and accepting what has come to mind. It would have been much easier if she had chosen her own portrait, to send me a message. Like if I looked over at her portrait one day, and instead of the little painting, I looked at her portrait and the mouth moved and said, keep doing what you're doing. I don't know what that voice was. My mom didn't talk like that. She didn't sound like that. But instead, it was that little painting. Which, now that I think about it, my mom, her whole life was devoted to community service. She really advocated for the poor and, for children, underprivileged, the underdog. She championed them. That was her life's work. So maybe in that way it makes sense that she didn't use her big, obvious, strong portrait of herself. Instead, she chose arguably the smallest painting in my studio. The one that didn't really get a lot of attention. And now that I think about it, that makes perfect sense. I'm even more convinced now that this whole thing was my mom. Anyway, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And including making these videos. Thank you to those of you who have communicated with me in the comments and on Facebook. I value your engagement. You've helped and been a part of me trying to figure this out. So I think mystery solved. Again, please let me know what you think if you have any thoughts on this. I would appreciate that. And I want to thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate that. So until next time, take care. Happy New Year. Thank you again. And I'll talk to you later.